Representative Ward, Chair recognizes you on Stancom Report 157.
Thank you, Speaker, for your indulgence. Thank you, colleagues, for speaking on an issue that is so macro, so structural that I think speaking not against, as I rise against HB 44, I would be amiss in making an important footnote. Mr. Speaker, in rising in opposition, I say the following. As Americans, we love freedom, we love democracy, and we love equality. Of these three values of freedom, democracy, and equality, equality stands out today because of the almost sacred place it has in the two corollaries of equality under the law and equality of opportunity. Even though our democracy has always not got it right, it's always been self-correcting. And Mr. Speaker, that's the beauty of HB 44. It's correcting the past denial of rights by extending the legal benefits of marriage to same-sex couples. I don't have a problem with this. Mr. Speaker, what I feel we've erred in, however, is the assuming that conferring the rights of same-sex couples will end at civil unions. If we listen to the Democratic Party GLBT caucus, it was made pretty clear in the newspapers even before we took session that this was going to be the session that strides towards marriage could be made and we could put marriage back on the legislative map. This combined with the statements of the majority leader from IAEA in the Advertiser following last Thursday's vote of 12-0 in the Judiciary Committee that, quote, passage of HB 44 was just one small step. These statements clearly indicate that this bill is not an end in itself. It is a means to an end of same-sex marriage, not a bundle of rights, but the same equal status with marriage. If this is not the goal, Mr. Speaker, I stand correction. But if it is the goal, why are we pretending that it isn't? That's the basic question of my comments. Why are we pretending that what follows will not be a reliving of the culture wars that we had back in 1998? Why are we pretending that we will not anger and frustrate the communities of faith? For example, Mr. Speaker, the 4,000-member Muslim community, for the first time ever, weighed in on this bill, even though it was in writing. They said they are entirely opposed to civil unions, same-sex marriage, etc. And Mr. Speaker, what about the 250,000 Catholics that were represented with the Hawaii Family Forum, the 100,000 Protestants, and the countless numbers of Mormons who will, upon the knowledge of this bill being passed, will again start up these culture wars that we went through 10 years ago. And Mr. Speaker, the bill we passed today will say to our constituents, or do we say to our constituents, oh, this bill is just about legal rights, nothing to do with same-sex marriage. I would contend we're setting ourselves up for a fall, Mr. Speaker. I don't want to be the one who says, oh, I voted for the bill before I voted against it, because the issue will be coming back to us. And when it comes back, it will need only a bit of a tweaking in its title, and bingo, we've got same-sex marriage. So let's stop pretending that the issue will be resolved today, because I know, you know, and everybody in this chamber knows that this is just round one. The fact of the matter is we are not voting for civil unions with this bill. We are voting for same-sex marriage. I'm voting no on this bill for the same reason that the chair of EPP refused last week in a hearing to not even be able to study nuclear energy development for electricity, fearing that even a study could lead to the nuclearization of Hawaii.
Speaker, point of
Representative Evans, state your point.
The Speaker has been talking about this bill, and now he's referring to something done by another committee chair. I would think that's inappropriate.
Representative Ward, could you confine your remarks to the bill before us and not the process? And not the process.
I only want people to understand, Mr. Speaker.
But not the process, Representative Ward.
It's what behind the bill is.
Well, Representative Ward, please continue on with your...
Okay, so I won't give the example where the chair of judiciary wouldn't hear the bill about the definition of a fetus because it might evade
Representative
abortion
Ward,
laws. Okay,
could
I'm
you
out of
confine
order.
your
Let me
remarks?
continue with the heart of the issue. My point is, Mr. Speaker, bills are rejected because the chairs know what is behind them, and with HB 44, we too have to know
Representative
what's
Ward,
behind
you may be inferring something that may be incorrect at this point as far as what the chairs decide to do on measures, so please proceed with yours.
So the bottom line, Mr. Speaker, let's not be naive about this. Let's give rights, but let's not give away marriage. The majority of the people have already spoken about marriage. 90% clearly indicated in 70% clearly indicated in 1998 that they do not want same-sex marriage. And parenthetically, Mr. Speaker, neither does our new President Obama want same-sex marriage. But if this body does, and if this body does want same-sex marriage, let's do the right thing and take it to the people of Hawaii and let it go back to a vote. The people deserve a say in this process of democracy, which I started out saying, if it's so macro, so structural, everybody should be able to weigh in on it. So lastly, Mr. Speaker, I'm ready to admit I am wrong if this bill passes and stops at civil unions. But perhaps the majority leader would like to respond to assure us that his goal and the ultimate goal of this piece of legislation is not same-sex marriage, and if the goal is same-sex marriage, that he would admit openly and honestly that that is the case. Again, I don't have a problem with civil unions. I have a problem with same-sex marriage like the rest of the majority in this state and possibly a majority in this chamber. Again, the bottom line is, let's give rights, but let's not give away marriage.